Be live on the U-boobs. Let me get this going here just a second. Okay, we are live on the YouTubes. What we're going to do is I'm going to grab these. Let's see here. Shareable link there. We're going to come over here to this. We're going to grab this, put this into here. We've got cruise missiles into Moldova, Russia, building drone bases along NATO east flank. Russia has moved warships into the Baltic Sea. See here. It's just so much going on. We've got a NATO nightmare scenario that looks to be going to play out. Russia and China could strike at the same time. The West has no such plans. Let me send this out to the all call. We're going to get this going here. We want to. This is what's going on with these drone bases. We're going to start out with.
Russia has built 10 bases with newly built launch pads for its most advanced long-range drones, the Telegraph reported. Its investigation revealed that some of them are already used to target Ukraine. At the same time, they also offer a long-term threat to NATO allies. European and U.S. intelligence officials believe Russia is considering an armed provocation on Polish soil, missile or drone attacks against critical infrastructure, or false flag attacks blamed on Ukraine. Using satellite images, journalists and military analysts identified at least 59 new launch rails, mechanical guide tracks used in the takeoff of fixed-wing drones instead of a traditional runway, along Russia's border with Belarus and Ukraine. At a number of key sites, further launch rails are under construction. Imagery analyzed by DroneSec, a drone intelligence firm, found that about 20 of the newly fitted rails appeared to be of an extended length, indicating their ability to launch the Kremlin's latest Geran 4 and Geran 5 long-range attack drones, which can carry a 90 kilograms payload.
I'm pretty sure them are the jet-powered drones that can reach speeds of 600 kilometers an hour. World War III is practically here, folks. U.S. and Israel are at war with Iran, that is being helped by Russia and the Houthis. Israel is also attacked by the the Hamas, Houthis, and Hezbollah. Russia is at war with Ukraine and being helped by Iran, North Korea, and China. Ukraine is being supported by its allies in the West. Russia will test NATO's eastern and northern flank in the near future, and will be supported by these same countries. Since the U.S. has spent most of its critical munitions on Iran and the Gulf, there is a high chance that China will attempt to invade Taiwan in the next few months to the next year. We are getting close to this in Nato. Also, we've got something very interesting. Now, we know for a fact that we have multiple tanks on fire in Glenpool, Oklahoma. Multiple oil tanks. Now, the media is reporting these as natural gas tanks. These are not natural gas tanks. These are crude oil tanks. Um, but there is some locals that is reporting that they heard drones at the time of this happening. So take that with a grain of salt about the drones. But if this comes out to be drones that has attacked these oil tanks in Glenpool, Oklahoma, whose drones are they? Are they Iran? Are they Chinese? Or are they Russian drones? If it comes out as they was drones. I doubt we will ever know if they was actual drones. But we've got 2 oil tanks on fire in Glenpool, Oklahoma. It's just so weird that all this is intensifying. These attacks throughout Europe, throughout the U.S. Now, I'm going to take a deep dive here in just a minute into this. Let me pull this up here. Where is it at? I know I've got it here. Folks, did Twitter not share that for me? I shared this. I may find it here just a second. Oh my goodness. Where is this at? We've also got some interesting stuff happening inside Japan's economic zone off Okinawa. And I will get into that in just a few after I get this sorted out to find this here. Where is this at? Here we go. Yeah, I shared that, but it is not showing up in my feeds. Now, what we're going to get into here just a minute is we're going to go back to here to the repost. And of course, it did not show up again. Now, Twitter, you need to get your head out of your butt. I shared that again, and it did not show up. Oh my goodness. I bookmarked it. Now here is what I shared. And it is not showing up. You can see I shared it. Right down here, a little green icon, but it's not showing up in my feeds. Now, we're going to let my little helper, my reader, read this off to you all. This is the hybrid warfare that is going on across Europe. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to pop this out, move this over to here. Ah, you little booger. We're going to pop this one up and bring it over here, and we're going to go to here, and I want to put this up because we've got Japan saying Chinese research vessels have been spotted deploying wire-like objects into the sea inside Japan's EEZ off Okinawa. They're getting ready And I wouldn't be surprised if they ain't putting these wire-like objects around these undersea cables. So here we go with this. Let me get my reading thing set back up here. But these are the attacks that's happened in the last week inside of Europe.
Something very strange is happening across Europe. In the
Awesome,
span of a
thank you.
single week, NATO countries have seen a remarkable series of incidents involving ammunition production, energy infrastructure, military facilities, and Russian intelligence operations. Let me start with what we know. Poland. On the 7th of August, Polish security services detained a Russian citizen, recruited by Russian intelligence, whose task was to execute a man holding both American and Ukrainian citizenship, in Warsaw. Prime Minister Donald Tusk announced it yesterday. According to him, this is the first time someone acting on Russian orders has tried to kill an American citizen on the territory of another NATO country. Germany. On the 6th of August, a drone carrying explosives was found near a runway at Leipzig-Halle Airport, next to a Ukrainian Antonov Airlines cargo aircraft. 2 days later, 2 drones were spotted over the Bundeswehr base at Mechernich. Also not a rumor. Italy. A fire in the powder compression department at the KNDS Ammo Italy plant in Colleferro, southeast of Rome, was followed by a massive explosion. No one was killed. The plant produces 155 mm artillery ammunition supplied to Ukraine through European partners. Netherlands. Within a few hours at Europe's largest port, a transformer fire, a major power failure, an emergency shutdown at the ExxonMobil refinery in Botlek, and then an explosion at the Gunvor Energy refinery and terminal that killed 1 worker and injured 6. I wouldn't be surprised if Russia is responsible for all these accidents. I wrote about this problem 2 years ago. Back then, Europe was already experiencing an extraordinary wave of suspicious incidents. IKEA set on fire in Vilnius. An arson attack on a Ukraine-linked warehouse in London. Sabotage plots against military and industrial targets in Germany. Attempts to attack infrastructure in the Czech Republic. An attack on the car of Estonia's interior minister. Attempts to disrupt European railway systems. And later, incendiary devices sent through European logistics networks, including devices that detonated or ignited in Germany, Poland and Britain. At the time, people could argue these were isolated incidents. Today, we know much more. European investigators and courts have connected multiple sabotage operations directly to networks organized or coordinated by Russian intelligence. The pattern was real. It was simply diagnosed late. That is the design. Hybrid war works by staying below the threshold at which any single incident forces a response. Every event, taken alone, is deniable. Only the sequence gives it away. So when another extraordinary cluster of explosions, fires, drones, power failures, and intelligence operations appears across Europe in 1 week, perhaps we should stop treating every incident as if it exists in a vacuum. Europe no longer has the luxury of automatically assuming accidents and coincidence. Russia is waging a hybrid war against Europe. Sabotage, arson, cyber attacks, assassination plots, GPS interference, attacks on logistics and critical infrastructure. These are not theoretical threats. They have already happened.
Yep. And we're only going to see this increase. These attacks are only going to increase. Okay. Now we want to move to this one. Let's see here. Now, folks, this is getting a bit too much. A Russian cruise missile was flying directly towards the capital of Moldova, but it has crashed in a cornfield in Moldova. This has just been the last few hours. Basically about noon, about an hour ago. It's about 2 hours ago now, is when this happened. So we just had a missile, a Russian missile, fly into Moldova, heading towards the capital of Moldova, but it didn't make it and crashed in a cornfield inside of Moldova. Now, these inclusions into NATO and EU member states are becoming an everyday occurrence now. It's happening every single day. Every single day. Now, U.S. intelligence is saying that Russia is going to attack NATO. You see, NATO isn't like Ukraine. We don't have the experience Ukraine has. NATO doesn't. NATO doesn't have the experience with drone warfare like Ukraine has. And if you ask me, I think Russia taking the Baltics, it's a very good possibility that they can succeed in this. Yes, sitting there. If y'all remember, just the other day, Russia flew a drone all the way through Romania into Bulgaria. Yeah, all the way through Romania into Bulgaria. And crashed it 100 meters away from a key pumping pressure station to the Trans-Balkan pipeline or whatever it is. But, yep, these attacks are getting more and more and more. Now, the Italians investigators are exploring the possibility that Russian sabotage was involved in the August 13th explosion at the KNDS ammunition facility in Cavallo, Italy. I told you all that it was sabotage. They was initially saying it was just an accident. Folks, this is not accidents. These are active sabotage incidents. We are seeing this all through NATO, almost on a daily occurrence now. Y'all, please share this stream out. Now, this is what I've been talking about. And this is what really has me concerned. Let me fix that. These reports from United States, people should be more alarmed of the increasingly intelligence reports from the U.S. and Europe about Russian attempted provocations towards NATO very soon. Now, folks, if we go back and look at the history, these same reports have been historically accurate when it came to the invasion of Ukraine, Iran, and others. And once the U.S. came out and said this the other day that Russia is planning on attacking the Baltics, and it could happen within the next 2 weeks, my mind automatically went back to 2022. Just weeks before Russia done what Russia has doing, U.S. intel just came out and said that it was imminent. Russia would invade Ukraine. And everybody lost their mind saying, oh, no, they're not going to do that. They wouldn't do something like that. Oh, no, no way they would do something like that. They're not that stupid. Well, folks, what happened? The little green men of the Russian army drove tanks across the borders. And what did we do? We watched it live. We pulled up cameras that we had found and got access to along the borders, along roadways in Ukraine. And that one camera we was watching, the Russians spotted it and they tore it down. We watched them tear the camera down. And that's exactly what's going to happen with the Baltics. You see, Russia has just moved some more major warships into the Baltic Sea recently, which has come with some concern to NATO officials. The Admiral Konstantov frigate and the Admiral Lechetov destroyer. Notably, the frigate is known to be a newer model capable of radar tracking and air defense asset. So, they are moving their last key pieces together for the invasion of the Baltics. Now, you see, Russia, just like Ukraine, they have to have these areas for this grand solar minimum. They have to. They have no choice. And that's what they're doing. Russia knows about the grand solar minimum. The West don't. Now, oh, what's her name? Valentina Zarkova. Get up on stage in Europe. See, she's from Russia. She's a world-renowned solar physicist. But she get up on stage in Europe, and they pulled her to the side before she went out on stage. And they told her, do you know what happens to people that talk too much in Russia? They usually find a window or some tea. But yeah, they pulled her to the side and told her, you know what happens to people that talk too much in Russia. See, Russia knows about this stuff. The West is too ignorant to look at the data. And it's so easy to look at this data. This happened 400 years ago. It happened 200 years ago. A little small one, 200 years ago. But yeah, Russia is building secret bases along NATO's northern and eastern flanks to launch drones deep inside NATO. Now, they have built 10 of these bases so far. And I've got the locations of these bases. But first, we are going to talk about what China is doing in the East Well, inside of Japan's economic zone off Okinawa. And I cannot believe there is only 9 people in YouTube with all of this major news that I am breaking to you all. We got 15 on Rumble. This is actually just kind of an insult. I take this as an insult that there's only 25 people watching. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go up here and we're going to talk about what China is doing. Now, listen to this, and this should concern you. They are preparing when Russia goes, China is going to go shortly after. Now, the BRICS nations have accomplished what they set out to accomplish with Iran.
New. Japan says a Chinese research vessel was spotted deploying a wire-like object into the sea inside Japan's EEZ off Okinawa. The Dongfang Hong 2 was observed conducting the activity Sunday afternoon, around 106 kilometers west of Kume Island. Japan's Coast Guard warned the vessel that marine research inside Japan's EEZ requires Japanese consent. As of now, the vessel remains in the same area and continues the activity. Another Chinese research vessel, Shangyang Hong 21, was also spotted operating inside Japan's EEZ near Cuba Island on Saturday before leaving later that evening. Under UNCLOS Article 246, foreign states need the consent of the coastal state to conduct marine scientific research in another country's EEZ.
Now, I'm not for sure what these wire-like objects they are putting into the sea is. I think it's something that they can mess with, maybe data cables, internet cables, should I say. Um, could be some kind of listening devices. I'm not for sure. But they are definitely putting something in the water around Okinawa, which concerns me. Now, we're going to go into here, and I've got some other stuff for you all. Now, this is the NATO nightmare. I'm not, we may have talked about this, but I don't recall it. We're going to talk about this.
NATO nightmare. Russia and China could strike at the same time, and the West has no plan for such a scenario. A scenario that until recently was considered almost unthinkable is now being seriously discussed by Western military strategists. Russia
Now,
attacks a NATO
folks,
country in Eastern Europe.
this is exactly what I said was going to happen. I hate that I have been correct on this. I was hoping I was wrong. Because this is going to be a complete and utter disaster. We may be talking Russian or Chinese. No joke. In the next few years. This really, really, really worries me.
while China simultaneously launches an operation against Taiwan. The U.S. would then have to fight on two fronts at once, and if Washington continues the war in the Middle East, on three. At the same time, as the Atlantic columnist Simon Schuster found, NATO still has no clear plan for such a scenario. Military experts admit that the West has done virtually no preparation for such a possibility. Meanwhile, Russia has ramped up military production and gained extensive experience in modern warfare in Ukraine, including the use of drones. China has more military ships and long-range missiles than the US. If Russia and China act in coordination while the US and Europe argue among themselves, the West could lose because it lacks a unified strategy.
Now, every war game that we have done, we lose. Now, I'm going to move on to what should also concern you. JP Morgan is warning of a global food supply crisis next year. Now, this connects with what the Russians are doing in the Baltics. Do you know that the Baltic corridor in the Baltic Sea is one of the last, actually, it is the last corridors that we are getting massive amounts of fertilizer from? Do you know that if a war kicks off in the Baltics, we lose? Yes, you heard me right. We lose our last supply of fertilizer to the United States. Do you understand what that will do to the food production over here in the U.S.? We have depleted our ground. Our ground is not even fertile no more. We have to dump copious amounts of fertilizers and pesticides and stuff on the ground over here just to grow stuff. If we don't, the stuff won't grow. It gets about 2 feet tall, the corn does, and it turns yellow because there is no nutrients left in the ground. We have put so much chemicals and so much synthetic fertilizers that our ground is garbage. There's nothing left of it. We have to. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. We have to have this fertilizer or we starve. If you are a farmer or if you grow a garden, you know what I'm talking about. And for the ones that doesn't grow stuff, you need to go buy you some fertilizer and put up. Go to your local farm shops, get you a couple bags. Well, get you 5 or 6 bags of triple 19 or triple 10. Put it in some 5-gallon buckets with a screw lid on it, and throw you a couple hand warmers in them to keep it dry. And put it up in a cool, dry place. Don't sit it on the concrete because it will draw moisture. You will need this. Expect, they're done saying that if we lose the Baltics, we dug into this AI Saturday. Yeah, we dug into it Saturday here. If you want to go back and look through the Saturday stream we done, please do. Because we're looking at 2 to 300x increase in food prices next year. If we lose, well, we're already going to see at least 100x. Not 100x, 100%. 1x. But they're looking at 2 to 3x increase if we lose this last corridor. Food is going to become so ridiculous expensive that a lot of people's not even going to be able to afford it. They're not going to be able to afford their car payments, their mortgage payments, all their insurance payments, their taxes, their electric, their water, everything else. It's almost impossible now. And if food doubles again, or triples, or quadruples, we are going to have, it's going to be awful. Yep, sitting there, and that's the reason why I compost these massive amounts of compost that I do. Now, my ground down at the old house, the last year when I grew down there, I didn't have to put fertilizer down. Now up here, it's terrible. I'm having to dump just massive amounts of fertilizer on this up here. And I don't have the assets up here as I did down at the old house to make just massive amounts of compost like anymore. So I'm gonna have to go buy some fertilizer and put up. Folks, we have just had the biggest storm that Hawaii has seen since the Civil War. The infrastructure in Hawaii is gone. The roadways are completely washed out. They've had major collapses of power infrastructure in Hawaii. They've got entire communities just completely cut off. Now, I'm gonna give you a link to Jordan Hall and a video that he's got. But it looks like what Tennessee and Tennessee and North Carolina looked like after that hurricane moved up through here. It's just blew the banks out of the creeks everywhere. It's awful. Absolutely awful. There's a link to the video in Hawaii. It's 2 minutes and 50 seconds long. Now, they're having massive flooding in South Korea, even. Their city streets in, I can't pronounce this, Opagong and a bunch of other places in South Korea has turned into rivers. I mean, actual rivers. There's a link to that. Y'all can check it out. Hey, the Iranian forces have stopped and seized an Emirates oil tanker near Qassam Island while it was passing through the Strait of Hormuz. So the Iranians have seized an Emirate oil tanker. Iran's not going to stop, folks. This is just the beginning of all this. This is just the beginning. And I want to show you all something right fast. Look at this. Look how many earthquakes has been down here in this area since that 7.7. Look at this. Each of them little circles is an earthquake. Some of them is bigger than the other. The the big red ones right there is the big 7.5 we had right there. I mean, just look at that cluster, and they just keep on coming. I mean, we've got just massive amounts of earthquakes over here. These, look over here, a bunch of them has been popping off over here. We've got some big ones popping off up in here. Now, we're only going to see this intensify. Look over here around the Honduras. They had a big one over here too, remember? We've had a pretty good sized one in Alabama. We've had a pretty good sized one in Arizona. Now, as we go on into this, look at this cluster over here. This stuff's just going to get, we're going to see more and more and more of this. This is just the beginning, folks. Just the beginning. So Iran has seized another oil tanker in the Strait of Hormuz. It's been reported 58 minutes ago. Well, folks, Trump is threatening to bomb Oman. Yes, you heard me right. Trump is threatening to bomb Oman. Let me get this. I shared it, I thought. Where is it at? I hate when YouBoob, not YouBoob, but Twitter doesn't share stuff. Trump on Fox News. If Oman gets in the way, this is them over. It's a country them are next to the Strait of Hormuz, next to it's below Qatar and Saudi Arabia. Trump said the U.S. will bomb the SHIT out of Oman if they get in the way of negotiations with Iran. Why are we threatening to bomb one of our allies if they get in the way with talks? Now, this is getting a little ridiculous. I'm going to read this off here. But yep, he on Fox News. Just Porter asked him about what he said this morning on Fox, saying he would beat the shit out of Oman if he got in the way. Trump says, I don't think they behaved very well, but we'll handle them. Just, all right, moving on. Let's see here. I've got some more stuff for you all. I've covered that. I've covered that. We've covered that. We've covered this. We've covered this. Covered that. We've covered Okay, we're going to talk about these drones. Let me get them here. Here is the drone bases that Russia is building. They've what we have found so far is 10 bases. Let me go up here and get this for you all. I think we've done no, we've done already done this, but we're going to do it again.
Russia has built 10 bases with newly built launch pads for its most advanced long-range drones, the Telegraph reported. Its investigation revealed that some of them are already used to target Ukraine. At the same time, they also offer a long-term threat to NATO allies. European and U.S. intelligence officials believe Russia is considering an armed provocation on Polish soil, missile or drone attacks against critical infrastructure, or false flag attacks blamed on Ukraine. Using satellite images, journalists and military analysts identified at least 59 new launch rails, mechanical guide tracks used in the takeoff of fixed-wing drones instead of a traditional runway, along Russia's border with Belarus and Ukraine. At a number of key sites, further launch rails are under construction. Imagery analyzed by DroneSec, a drone intelligence firm, found that about 20 of the newly fitted rails appeared to be of an extended length, indicating their ability to launch the Kremlin's latest Geran 4 and Geran 5 long-range attack drones, which can carry a 90 kilograms payload.
So there you have it. These new drones are jet powered. We've got a national security scandal unfolding, folks. The former aerospace chief spent 14 years reviewing engine programs for the F-22 and F-35. Then he has quietly trained researchers at a blacklisted Chinese defense university and presented unpublished sensitive work there. Now, I'll give you a link to this, and I wonder how much China has paid him to do this. Um, his name is Brian Cantwell. He served on a team overseeing development of the F-119, F-135, and F-136 engines. The F-119 powers the F-22. The F-135 powers the F-35. In 2025, he spent nearly a month inside of Binghang, one of China's 7 sons of national defense. Binghang says Cantwell gave 6 lectures, advising researchers, trained students, and toured labs. It's just amazing. It smells like treason. Hey, folks, the U.S. 30-year bond yield has just hit 5.290%. That's massively high. This is the highest level since June of 2007. Long-term borrowing costs are now back to where they were before the 2008 financial crisis. I think we're going to see 7% or higher. We are just getting started with this bond crisis. Sadly. Now, inflation is skyrocketing, but they're hiding the real numbers. They can't control it like they done in the past. They can't raise rates because rates are already extremely high and they're going on up. If they cut rates, it's going to ignite hyperinflation. Their hands are tied, and they're sitting on them this time, trying to hide it, that their hands are tied together. Now, folks, we're up shit creek without a paddle. I hate to say that. I really do. Supreme Court has rejected Trump's appeal of his loss of the E. Jean Carroll case. So he's lost the E. Jean Carroll sex abuse case in the Supreme Court. Okay, you know how we was talking about the water crashes that Europe is having. In Budapest, the Hunger Rock. Is happening again. Now, 1616, 1718, 1811, 1830, and 1842, 1868, and in 1947. Now, that 1616 was about 400 years ago. That's during the last, that was towards the end of the last GSM. And then in the 1830s and the 1811s, we had that little small GSM, which would have been the Dalton minimum. This is so interesting how this stuff it's just playing right out. A nearby farmer puts it plainly, I've lost nearly 50% of my harvest, and it could hit 70% since I started farming after the end of economist rule. I have never seen a catastrophe like this. We are going to see mass starvation across the globe because of this grand solar minimum and the jet stream changes. And folks, I'm begging of you to pile all the food you can possibly pile that will last 10 years. Can until your fingers bleed. Because I want you all to not be hungry. I've got thousands and thousands of hours of research into this stuff. And it's not good. It's not good where we're going. It's not good. Now listen to this.
In Budapest, a rock has resurfaced in the Danube. It's called the Rock of Starvation Inseg Shikla. For centuries, its return has meant one thing. The river is so low the mills fall silent, crops fail, and hunger follows. It surfaced in 1616, in 1718, in 1811, 1830, 1842, 1868, in 1947, and now it's back, in 2026. For the first time in 44 years, Hungary has shut down all but one of its Danube-cooled nuclear reactors. A nearby farmer puts it plainly, "I've lost nearly 50% of my harvest, and it could hit 70%.
50% of their
Since I
harvest has
started
been
farming
lost.
after the end of communist rule, I've never seen a catastrophe like this. The rock is a warning. It's been delivering it for 400 years. We know exactly what it says, but we haven't been listening."
Do you hear that, folks? The farmer says he's lost 50% of his harvest, and it could hit as high as 70%. Now, I want to know if this is throughout Europe. Because if Europe's lost at least 50% of their harvest, my God. My God. Y'all gonna have to step up your food production. Got to step it up. There's going to become a time here within the next 10 years you're not going to be able to grow nothing because it's going to frost in July. All the way down in Kentucky. We're going to have 100-degree, 120-degree temperature swings within hours. It's not the fact that it's going to get cold and stay cold. We're going to start seeing these massive temperature swings. Now, we have been seeing them in wintertime already. We recorded out west here a year or two ago a 90-degree temperature swing in a matter of hours, folks. Now, this is the jet stream changes that I'm talking about. These jet streams are going to pick up this cold air and go just blanket us with it. And that's what's going to cause these massive crop loss events. It's really not the fact that we're going to go into a mini ice age. It's going to be these massive temperature swings that we're going to be seeing because of solar rays not interfering right with our atmosphere and where the magnetic field of the sun's going out of phase. And it's going to let these jet streams, it's changing our jet streams. And we're done seeing this. Just the massive flooding in places that don't flood like this. It's every day. How China has been flooded for 2 months now. And they're just getting pounded and pounded and pounded over and over and over again. I'm going to go on a limb here and say the eastern part of China, they've lost 90% of their crops. They're gone. Now, as we go on into winter here, I'm going to start looking for reports of massive food shortages because we're going to start seeing massive food shortages. Now, this farmer's saying over here in Europe, he's in Budapest on the Danube River area. He's put it plainly. He said he's lost 50% of his harvest, and it could hit 70%. Now, if this is wide spread to this amount, folks, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know what we're going to do. Just this alone is going to cause food prices to go because there's going to be a massive shortage. And what happens when there's a massive shortage and a high demand? Prices go up. So you need to be piling everything that you can pile. Now, my Patriot Supply, I mean, the stuff I've ate it. It's okay. They've got these buckets, these 2-month buckets. Well, you got some 4-week buckets too. They're not that bad expensive. They're in a bucket. They're sealed. They're good for 25 years. It's a month of food for one person, and it's just not rice. It's soups. They've got all kinds of big hearty stuff too. Y'all need to check that out. Buy some along. Well, we have lost a U.S. nuclear power plant. The St. Lucie Power Plant Unit 1 has been manually shut down after the control rods drop into core. What? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, folks. Now, I just shared that, and Twitter is not going to. Here it is. Oh my goodness. Now, listen to this.
The St. Lucie Nuclear Power Plant's Unit 1 on Hutchinson Island was manually shut down in a non-emergency when 3 control rods dropped into the reactor core, according to an event notification report posted by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. At 9:47 a.m. Thursday, Unit 1 at Mode 1 was at 100% power when the manual procedure was conducted by operators with Florida Power and Light. The trip was uncomplicated with all systems responding normally post-trip, NRC said. Operations stabilized the plant in Mode 3. Decay heat is being removed by discharging steam to the main condenser using the turbine bypass valves and main feedwater. Unit 2 was not affected. The NRC resident inspector has been notified. Control rods, which are movable components made from neutron-absorbing materials, are used in reactors to regulate the rate of nuclear fission. When they go into the reactor core, they absorb enough free neutrons to stop a chain reaction and the reactor shuts down. The FPL site on 1,200 acres in Jensen Beach. Unit 1 commenced operations in 1976 and Unit 2 in 1983. The facility generates approximately 2 gigawatts of emissions-free electricity, supplying roughly 11% of FPL's total power generation and serving more than.
There you have it, folks. I'd like to know what caused the rods to drop. Was it rust? And the cables or whatever holds them up, did they fail? I mean, there's a lot of questions to be answered here, because if they're in this big of this repair, we could see a nuclear incident like Chernobyl. All right, I posted y'all some massive flooding links to some videos there. Okay, what we're going to do here is we're moving to some more information about what Russia is doing. Now, listen to this carefully.
Hi. This. Hi. This. Hi. 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 Hi.
Hi. This is a preview. Russia has commenced its campaign of hybrid warfare against multiple NATO countries in the last month.
I don't like that.
Constant drone incursions on Romania,
Hi. This is a preview.
Romania, Latvia, Moldova,
Causing NATO to scramble. Russia has commenced its campaign of hybrid warfare against multiple NATO countries in the last month. Constant drone incursions on Romania, Latvia, Moldova, causing NATO to scramble jets daily also over the Baltic Sea. Series of suspicious explosions around Europe. Rotterdam port, then at an artillery ammunition production center in Colleferro, Italy, which produces 155 mm for Ukraine. Poland assassination attempt of American citizen in Warsaw, as well as a missile into eastern Poland. German drone CEO assassination plot foiled, as well as an explosive drone found on Leipzig runway and suspicious drone flights over NATO Patriot air defense bases in Mechernich. Plot in Sweden of assassinations and political influence campaigns. Now intelligence. Russia is preparing further incursions with building drone launch sites across the border with NATO's eastern flank.
Well, there you have it, folks. This is the campaign that they've started. I'm going to let y'all listen to that one more time because there's a lot of information there. And you need
Russia
to listen
has
to that again.
commenced its campaign of hybrid warfare against multiple NATO countries in the last month. Constant drone incursions on Romania, Latvia, Moldova, causing NATO to scramble jets daily also over the Baltic Sea. Series of suspicious explosions around Europe. Rotterdam port, then at an artillery ammunition production center in Colleferro, Italy, which produces 155 mm for Ukraine. Poland assassination attempt of American citizen in Warsaw, as well as a missile into eastern Poland. German drone CEO assassination plot foiled, as well as an explosive drone found on Leipzig runway and suspicious drone flights over NATO Patriot air defense bases in Mechernich. Plot in Sweden of assassinations and political influence campaigns. Now intelligence. Russia is preparing further incursions with building drone launch sites across the border with NATO's eastern flank.
Just amazing. That's not all of them. That's not all. And I mean, this is, and most of that's within the last 2 weeks. Mount Etna in Sicily, Italy, continues to erupt with significant acid emissions from a volcanic crater. We've also got a new fracture that has opened in Valle di Brava, which produced a small plastic flow. Now, I'm going to play this one next for you because this is a lot of good information right here about the Strait of Hormuz and Iran.
Two developments stand out this morning. Hormuz, observable commercial traffic has fallen about as low as it can go, just as the US-Iran diplomatic window runs out without a deal. Kepler recorded only 5 commodity vessels crossing Hormuz on Saturday and none on Sunday, compared with 31 the previous weekend. Before the war, more than 130 ships of all types typically crossed the strait each day. That does not mean we can say literally no ship crossed on Sunday. Ice-dark traffic can escape commercial tracking. But the observable shipping picture is now very close to a standstill. At the same time, the 60-day window set by the June US-Iran memorandum is expiring without a peace agreement or an announced extension. Washington and Tehran remain far apart on the political terms for ending the war and reopening the strait. Iran says it has reached an understanding with Oman on the map of a future transit system through Hormuz and that the two sides are now working toward a final joint statement. The emerging framework would reportedly use an inbound route closer to Iran and an outbound route closer to Oman, initially without tolls. That is increasingly the problem with every new claim that an agreement is close. Until tankers return in sustained numbers, insurers price the risk down and cargo flows recover, there is no operational normalization. Iraqi Kurdistan, the regional leadership has been directly targeted in a new drone attack. 2 drones targeted the office of Kurdistan Regional Government Prime Minister Masrour Barzani early Monday, while the home of the head of the region's security and intelligence agency was also targeted. No casualties were reported. The KRG security agency says the attack was launched from Iranian territory. There has been no immediate claim of responsibility, and that attribution has not yet been independently demonstrated through publicly available radar data, wreckage analysis or other technical evidence. This was not another strike on an oil field or an isolated military position. The Prime Minister's office and the intelligence chief's residence are nodes of the Kurdish political security leadership. If the Iranian origin claim is technically confirmed, it would represent another escalation of Tehran's direct pressure on Iraqi Kurdistan, which has tried to avoid becoming an active front in the wider war. Iraqi Kurdistan says drones launched from Iran targeted its prime minister's office and intelligence chief. Watch today, whether any commodity traffic returns to Hormuz. Publication of the Iran-Oman route framework, any movement on the expired US-Iran negotiating window, and technical evidence or an Iranian response to the Kurdistan drone attacks.
Iran has decided to shift from a defensive posture to a fully offensive policy, senior Iranian official says. Tehran has set a deadline of several weeks for full implementation of its MOU with the U.S., warning it would not tolerate indefinite American naval blockade. So it gave the U.S. several weeks for a deadline. Here's what Iran is saying. The ceasefire with Iran is at peace. It's a pause before a real war. Iranian hardliners see the U.S. deal as a tactical move to ease pressure on global markets and buy time for a larger attack. Iran has also used the past months to prepare for escalation and tighten the IRGC's control over the regular army. The regime believes a big war has not yet begun. Current events are only preparations for what is to come. I think their assessment may be correct, but any escalation will require more regional ally support. And I agree with that. Do you know that it'll take at least 500,000 troops to do anything? Also, the price of ground beef has skyrocketed, folks, to over $7 per pound. Ground beef is now up 30% since Trump took office. Also, the pilfering of the channel has started, folks. It was like a switch got lit. Switch got turned on about a week ago, by the way. Trump says he's going to have an opinion on flock cameras. He's saying after he's finished studying them over the next few weeks. Oh my goodness. Tucker Carlson's at it again, folks. Hey, Tucker Carlson and Glenn Greenwald are claiming Putin is a moderate and pro-European and hope someone like him leads Russia next. Oh my goodness. Uh, I don't know what's wrong with these people's brains. Also, Moldova has temporarily closed part of its airspace due to the incident with the missile that flew into Moldova that was heading towards the Moldovan capital but crashed in a cornfield. What you're seeing on screen right there is the drone bases that Russia has built. Each one of them red dots on that screen is a drone base, folks. Each one of them red dots. And this is what them bases look like. These are the launch rails. This is the storage facilities that holds the drones. And them are the launch rails. There's some drones right there. Launch rails. Storage for the drones. And right there is where they've placed these drone bases. And if you look up in here, see these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? These up in here is what they're going to use on the Baltics. So they can launch these, run them through Belarus, and boom, right into the Baltics and the Gap. See how close they are to the swanky Gap? These are put there on purpose. They're far enough back for cover, but yet they're close enough to do anything they want to do. And you see where the line cuts off. They put these there for a reason. And that reason is so that way they can have complete and utter control over top of all this. And if you look right here at this island, I think this is what they call the Gotliff Island. Whoever controls this island, right here, my mouse is over. Whoever controls this island, right here, controls the Baltic Sea and this island. Whoever controls this controls the Baltic Sea. Now, this port into St. Petersburg, as we get on into this GSM, it will freeze solid. Russia has to have these areas for these warmer water ports. They're not warm water, but they're warmer. They're not going to freeze as quick or as thick because there's currents out here compared to this bay. We're just getting started with this. We're just getting started. World War III is here, whether you like it or not. Now, this is part of them 94 bases that Russia is remodeling and building along the NATO's eastern and northern flank. Now, some of these bases they are moving tactical nuclear weapons into. Some of them is drone bases. Some of them is radar bases. Some of them is air defense systems. Some of them is land systems. And some of them are tactical nuclear systems. Now, the Danish has just moved an entire mechanized brigade into Latvia. Now, Latvia is right here. This is Latvia, I'm pretty sure. Let me look just a second. I'm pretty sure that that is Latvia. Yeah, this is Latvia. We've lost my track here. I was with Mary getting here and look at this, but it's gone. Oh well. I want to refresh this now since we've lost. I can't believe we lost that track. Actually, let's do something here right fast. Let's pull up flight radar. And let's see what kind of what we had flying around the Baltics today. Yes, today was day 17th. Let's go back to about 12 Universal Time. Let's see here. Trying to see if we've got any. Okay, that's been over too. We don't care about that flight. Oh, looky there. We sent a rivet joint. Looky there, folks. Yeah, we took a looky up here. No, maybe not. I thought that had went up there too. Now, why have we moved this rivet joint up here to Sweden? I mean, Norway. That's interesting. 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 We need to keep an eye out where that goes from there. Um, because that is interesting. Why did we move a rivet joint from the UK up to Norway? Now, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Look at this. Folks, they're worried. They are very, very worried. Very worried. Look at that groove that Gulf Stream has wore into the sky right there. That's an ISR flight. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if this 135 that went up here to Norway doesn't come up here. And take a good look, see around Murmansk. So that's where Russia's Northern submarine fleet is located. So they pulled some ships out of there and sent them into the Baltic Sea too, recently. Okay, let's see here. What else do we have that has been flying around? Yeah, I want to know where that. See, we had another look-see here yesterday. Look here. There. They went up and took a little look-see around. Looked over to St. Petersburg. Then they came back today and done that really heavy path in here. They saw something. They saw something that concerned them. So they came back in and wore a groove in the sky right in here, looking over into here. So there's some bases. Yeah, hang on a minute, folks. This may lock my computer up. Let's see here. Downloads. We want Russian military installations. We want this map. Now we want to see what this. We want to see a minute. I'd like to be able to do this, but we can do it like this. Now these are your Russian military installations. This takes a good look-ski here. Let me pull up another window capture just a minute. And let's pull into this flight radar into a box up here. Now, what happened? No, here, come back here, folks. Stop. Let's put this back up. Yeah, I see what happened. Okay, we need another window capture. Plus window capture. Okay. We want to pull into the flight radar. Okay. And we're going to pop that up right up here just like Slooksy. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull this right here. We're going to pause that. And we're going to come right in here and look what this thing was looking at. Okay, right here is that squiggly. Okay. So we've got a radio technical arrangement here. We've got another radio arrangement. See, I don't. And then we've got, here's possibly one of their main. This is the Arctic Motor Rifle Brigade training grounds. Right here. Pretty good size area. That's shooting range here. Okay. This is the 80th separate. This is their quarters. Oh. Now this was took 5/5 of 24. Do we have a newer do we have a newer, can we get a little bit newer picture? Nope, that's it. It's the newest one we got right there, folks. It's 24. This is a pretty good size base. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is what Russia is doing. They're building these hordes of equipment up here next to Nato. This is a horde of equipment there. And it's untelling how much stuff is there now. Because that was 2 years ago. Okay, let's take a look-see here. We want to go. See, it can see this area. This is the defense radars. There's some air defense radars over here. See, that's the close. 24 is again the closest picture we've got here. Now this, you can see these radar. This is your OTH radar over horizon. Got a radar dome there. I'm trying to see what they're looking at. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if if they're not looking at some buildup ongoing along the border here. To be honest with you. We're very worried about this area in here for some reason. There's really nothing there. But, Russia's building some new bases in these areas. Now, I need to get an updated map of this. This map's about a year and a half old. But Russia is building new bases. Thank you, Blue Helix. And welcome in. Go to that link, sign up, become a member, get access to our Discord, get access to our roundtables, and all of our other goodies. Now, we had a big channel here, folks, and it got zapped for the ones that's now finding us. Okay, let's see if we've got anything else that perks my interest. Where has this been? And where is this one going? It looks to be going up here. It's coming from these bases. That's a 300. That's a presidential plane. That's interesting. RA 96024. RA 96024. IL 96 96-300 PU. That's Puddin's plane, I'm pretty sure. Yep, that's the Russian Presidential Airborne Command Fleet. Now, interesting. Where has Puddin been? See, there's another one. So there's two right there. That's Puddin's fleet right there. He has been on one of them two aircraft right there. They've came out here. So he's got some bunkers up in here. Vladimir's got some bunkers. See, that plane came from over here. Oh, he's coming back. I see what it is. You know, he had been over here on these islands. Remember, he took a visit over here to these islands that Russia claims. Is it that plane dinged right there, and he threatened Japan while he was over here. All right. Let's see here. We have, has this, I'm trying to see if this 135 has been back up. It went up here and landed in Norway. We do have a P8 that has just took off. Wonder where it's going. Ooh, 135 is. No. Is it moving? No. It's landed. Oh, don't freeze up, computer. I'm going to have to get rid of